buddy Mitch, who runs Sylvan Scream Analog, the other day, tagged me in a post on Facebook challenging me and a bunch of his other friends to name a dozen stone-cold classics in the black metal genre. And I thought, rather than just do it on Facebook, I want to make a video out of it. And I don't want to give it too much thought. You know, I don't really try and maintain a list necessarily of my tops. Also, I'm really crunched for time, so I think it's kind of a perfect way for me to just kind of pull a couple of things off the cuff and present them to you. Okay, so a couple other things to say about the list. I'm not putting dissection in here because I'm just considering that kind of a little bit more on the death metal side of things. Always an argument worth having. But these are just undeniably black metal, stone cold, perfect classics. I think I have 12, maybe more. In no particular order, I just grabbed them, as you saw, randomly. So, and also I didn't put a whole lot of thought into this, so this isn't my end-all, be-all list to take to the grave. However, Caladan Brood, Echoes of Battle. This is the deluxe No Silence, Northern Silence. Oh, I got a sticker in there. I never realized that. Anyways, hugely symphonic, epic as all. This out-epics everything that ever epicked black fucking metal from Utah. This is a classic post-2000. I love that record to death, and I haven't listened to it in a hot minute. Along the same lines, we got Wolves in the Throne Room with Two Hunters. This is a desert island album for me. It's the original Southern Lord. A little bit of post-black metal, lots of influence from stuff like Weakling, a little bit of sort of Godspeed You Black Emperor sort of thinking in the ways of the vastness of the potential vastness that could be achieved within the genre of black metal. I feel like this album really broke those chains free, and there's not a moment on it that I'm not just dreaming of being in the forest with my fists raised in the air, passionately about something or other. Let's get a CD out of the way. Obtained Enslavement's Witchcraft. Fucking amazing orchestral Norwegian black metal. So fucking great. It's just chock full of amazing instrumentation and orchestration. Quite an unheralded album. I wish I had it on LP, but I don't because it goes for a pretty damn penny. But this is just some of the most well-composed black metal I've ever heard. And when I hear a new black metal band, a lot of times what goes through my head is, do I like this as much as Obtained Enslavement's Witchcraft? Or do I not? Would I rather be listening to this new black metal band, or would I rather be listening to Witchcraft? And a lot of the times, I'd rather be listening to Witchcraft. Next, this shitty reissue, Dawn's Nair Solengar Sniper for Evogar. Kind of arguably a little bit on the death metal template, but I feel like they were kind of breaking free of their death metal roots and going in a more black metal direction, but never realized how much this cover reminds me of Dusk's self-titled record. But as you know, one of my favorite Swedish black metal records. chock full of melodies. Just it's like 2 albums worth of melody in a 35-minute album. So fucking great. I might be a little bit off there, but this album is one of my absolute favorites. Stone cold classic. Never ever get sick of listening to this thing. And I've been listening to it since I was 17 years old. Dark Funeral. Definitely notice an absence of Dark Funeral in this list. Darkthrone's Under a Funeral Moon, one of my favorite stripped down, nasty, evil black metal records. Love this thing to death. This is a Peaceville reissue, not really even worth taking out of the bag, but you all know this album. A lot of you know all these albums, so I don't know. Didn't want to put a lot of effort into it. This one, you might be surprised by this one. Dimmu Borgir's Stormblast. I absolutely love this fucking album. Talk about just chock full of Norwegian black metal atmosphere and sort of touching upon the vampiricism. But after this record, I feel like it wasn't really believable anymore. Love that band photo. And this is the original cacophonous purple vinyl edition. And what I mean by that is like, okay, they achieved the vampiricism on this album, but they kind of just took it a little bit too far going forward. You know, I talked a little bit about Enthroned Darkness Triumphant in my last video. I like it well enough, but it just kind of seems like they're selling it a little bit too hard, where on here it seems like, yeah, of course, Dimmu Borgir, they're a bunch of fucking vampires, blood-sucking freaks from Norway. Yeah, they're awesome. But this is their finest moment by far, Stormblast. Check out Alt Lysers Funeten if you don't agree. Okay, let's go with Judas Iscariot. This is To Embrace the Corpses Bleeding. I'd love to have an LP copy of this master fucking piece. My favorite Judas Iscariot. It's just wall-to-wall, sinister, nasty, evil black metal riffs with incredible, just blasting drumming. Hateful fucking vocals. This is just black metal to its fucking core. Every second of this album is damn near perfect. I love this record and I don't listen to it enough. In fact, I think that's going to be my commute album today. Burzum's Filosofem is undeniably amazing. You all know this record. I love it quite a bit. It's kind of weird though how we all think of it as like a full-length album, but in a way it's kind of not. It's got like 3 black metal songs and then 3 that are just kind of like ambient, and 1 or 2 of them just sound like someone doing the dishes in a kitchen where there's a guitar leaning against an amp. And I don't really, I know I always listen to the whole album when I put it on, but it's just kind of weird how this album is so heralded as a black metal masterpiece, but half of it isn't even really black metal. It's just kind of some weird noises and stuff, but you know, still an amazing atmosphere to it. And this guy's a fucking bastard, but he made a great album. Next, so this is kind of weird. I'm just going to kind of call these one album in a way. Self-titled and As the Shadows Rise 7-inch. You know, I was thinking about going with Anthems to the Welkin at Dusk, but in a lot of ways I think that kind of doesn't fit all that comfortably within the black metal format. And then I thought about, well, In the Nightside Eclipse does a little bit more, but I'm not really a huge fan of In the Nightside Eclipse. In fact, I like the second half of In the Nightside Eclipse a little bit better than the first. And I feel like it's because the first half is because these great songs were re-recorded for the 3rd or 4th time, and I feel like the performance of these great songs on the first half of In the Nightside Eclipse kind of lose a little bit of their emphasis, and it feels like the zeal of a young Norwegian black metal band aren't performing these songs as well as they should have been. So I prefer the versions of those songs on both of these, and I fucking love these things to death. This is like a weird reissue. This was originally a 7-inch recorded or released on Nocturnal Art, and Hammerheart Records put this 3-song single-sided EP out a couple of years ago. It's a reissue. And this is just back on black, so it's really not even worth looking at, but you all know the First Emperor. Next, we're going with Immortal, Pure Holocaust. Not exactly my favorite Immortal. I just chose this one just so I'd not really beaten a dead horse about battles in the north. This album, they just really, and I feel like this kind of created a template for a lot of bands to take and run with at the time. But in 1993, I feel like they found a groove. In fact, I don't know if you know, but he doesn't even play on this album. Abath plays drums on this, so it's a two-piece. You know, they lost Armageddon after the first album, and they just really found an undiluted focus to them, and they decided to just really wield all their passion for their style and kind of create a new world in which to kind of convey this blasphemy, unsilent storms in the North Abyss, signs for the Norse hordes to ride. It's the beginning of their sort of like wintry, icy, inhuman domain that they would continue with for a long time. I love this album to death. There's a lot of bands, like I would say Marduk kind of borrowed a lot from this. When this came out, they toured for this album with Marduk in Europe, and Marduk at that time, I think they were touring for Heaven Shall Burn, but right after, and I think like on that song Heaven Shall Burn, there's that song, I'm not going to think of it. There's one song that's like track 7, and I think, doesn't the guy from Abruptum sing on it or write the lyrics on it or whatever? Infernal Eternal, maybe? That song seems like it's kind of a foreshadowing of what their style would become after Heaven Shall Burn. But a lot of bands really took this sort of focused, stripped down, undiluted style to the nth degree, and very few people, I think, pulled it off successfully, and certainly not as successfully as Immortal did with Pure Holocaust. Great fucking stone cold classic. Mitch, I hope you enjoy this. Next is what we're actually listening to, Abigor's Opus IV. This thing is still unparalleled in its amazing orchestration. For its time when it was released in 94, it's fucking brilliant. There's no way around it. There's no booklet in this because this came with a box set with a huge booklet in it. So, just black vinyl. But yeah, if you haven't heard Abigor's Opus 4, man, it's mind-blowingly great. Super well produced. It's amazing that they pulled something off in, I think it was a home studio actually that they recorded it in. If you like summoning and you haven't heard Abigor, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Not a whole lot to look at on here, but man, this album is just a fucking world to live in. A world to be frightened in by black metal. I don't know, I just can't really think of what else to say about it, but it's a great fucking record. Opus 4, A Journey to the Stars. Lastly, I'm not sure if this is 12 or 13 or whatever. Obviously, Ulver's Bergtatt. Couldn't leave that one out. This is a shitty reissue that I bought a couple years ago because it hadn't been reissued on LP at that point, so I jumped at the chance. Anyways, atmospheric, acoustic, sort of black metal. Norwegian to the core. Just black. Yeah, just black vinyl. This is a very minimal, nothing really to it, no booklet or anything. But yeah, it's great. Lots of acoustic interludes and stuff. The song craftsmanship on here is just amazing and so influential for a lot of bands. I feel like it didn't really hit its stride with the influence that it would inspire until really a couple of years ago. When a lot of people who had like maybe gotten into black metal through like Agalloch or something like that discovered, oh, that's where they were getting their sound from. So, Ulver's Bergtatt, highly influential and great record. Last, let's go with Cradle of Filth's The Principles of Evil Made Flesh. Kind of a lot along the lines of Dimmu Borgir's Stormblast, has that like vampiricism. Just, this album is boundlessly ingenuitive in a lot of ways. They just really didn't find any boundaries to what they were trying to achieve songwriting-wise. They wrote songs, made them super orchestral with a lot of synthesizers and tons of crazy vocals and stuff. There was really nothing like this for its time. I really wonder, like, how much of this could be traced back to other bands influence-wise. Obviously, lyrically, I think Danny Filth was trying to portray a lot of the gothic romanticism that he was reading in a lot of Anne Rice novels and shit like that. But I've always had a kind of a curiosity, like, entertaining. Is this
copying anything Sisters of Mercy wise or something like that? Or is it really all that ingenuitive? I think if I were to pursue that, I would find that it really is just an original masterpiece. Principle of Evil Made Flesh by Cradle of fucking Filth. So there you have my list. 20 minutes, that's not too bad. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time. Sorry I gotta go.